Kia ora, tamu ki makaurau. I'm Regan, I'm from Snowflake, and today I'm here to talk to you about how Snowflake can help you deliver real-world value using AI as a business accelerator. Okay, so business leaders are surrounded by complex decisions, whether that's for mitigating risk, for maximizing opportunities, or for improving our bottom lines. These decisions will be more effective if we can see the full picture of what is going into these decisions. To see the full picture, however, we need to assemble a puzzle. And that puzzle contains data from multiple domains, whether that's sales data, marketing data, support data, and also from multiple applications. So this could be SAP, could be Dynamics, or it could be Adobe Campaign Manager, for example. How can you relate campaign performance to sales data if the data are in two separate systems? We've built data lakes and we've built warehouses to bring that data together, to remove the silos and bring that data into one place so that we can join it and get insights. But there's often still work to do to create the relationships between the different data sets. And then there's also the question of data that sits in unstructured formats. We might have customer call transcripts that are in our contact center system. We might have contract data that's in PDFs stuck in a SharePoint or a Google Drive. So there's data types that are not our typical structured data that we also want to be able to get insights from too. At the moment, our analysts and our insight teams are spending far too much time trying to bring this data together, connect that data, instead of delivering the insights that are behind that data. How are we currently delivering these insights? I'm sure you're familiar with the dashboard. That is our go-to. We build dashboards. We build a lot of dashboards, but we build these based on our well-known data sets. So we build a model that has our sales data, our marketing data, we connect it together, we build a dashboard, if we're lucky. Sometimes it's just the sales data in the dashboard, and sometimes it's just the marketing data. These dashboards can tell a story, but they can't always tell the whole story. So what we want to do is we want to go from a spike in a dashboard, this is the what, but it doesn't really tell us the why. So how do we find out the why? We want to see the root causes that are contributing to these spikes. And this is one area where AI can help. By bringing contextually relevant research and conclusions, AI can help you answer those complex questions. AI can also put this in the hands of ordinary business users, not just insight analysts, and allow these users to ask the questions in plain language. Snowflake Intelligence is an end-user AI product. Snowflake Intelligence runs over the data that's in your data platform, in your data warehouse, in your data lake. It can orchestrate, it can reason, it can dig into data sets, it can evaluate, and then it can go and do more reasoning and look at more data sets and come up with answers and insights that perhaps are not there in the joins and the data that's in your current data warehouse. It can do this across the structured data, so that sales data that we have. It can also do that across the non-structured data, the support tickets, the text from those, contracts, product warranty manuals, and so on. One of the things that Snowflake Intelligence does is it brings a ChatGPT-like interface to your data. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. Let me jump across to the demo momentarily. Okay, have we got a screen? Cool. So people use ChatGPT, they've used Gemini before. You type in a question, gives you answers, but it's really more about the general knowledge that it knows. It doesn't know anything about the data that you have in your system, so it can't really answer those questions. It can answer generic questions. But when you take a large language model, which is behind the ChatGPTs or the Geminis, and you put it across your data and you let it orchestrate the questions, ask the questions, do the reasoning, interrogate different data sets, it can start combining this data together and produce actual insights that are of value. Let's just show what a question looks like, which is going to be, this is more like your dashboard, but show me the trend of sales data, assuming internet and everything's going to work okay here. It is a live demo. Okay, so what you're seeing here is we've asked the question, show me a trend of sales by product category between June and August. It's going through and it's looking at what tools it has, what data sets it has that it can interrogate and produce this information. One of the things it does is it tells you what it's doing along the way so you can see the reasoning and understand its logic. But as you can see here, it's found some data. We can have a look at that in a table format, and we can also see it in a chart. And you can see right at the top there is a big spike in our fitness wear sales in July. So the dashboard is showing us our sales, it's showing us that we have a spike, but it's not telling us why that spike existed. So how do we find the reason behind the why here? We could have a bigger dashboard with lots of little slices and start dropping down and changing data sets out, grouping it different ways to try and find the correlations between other data sets that we might have. But if you've used dashboards before, it can take quite a while to go through and try the permutations. But what if the data that needs to answer this is not even in the dashboard? Then you're kind of out of luck. So one of the things that Snowflake Intelligence and LLMs and AI can do in general is it can help you answer the whys. And it can do so with simple language so that a business user could do that as well. And I'm going to try and do this with actual language this time. Show me why there was a sales spike in July. Show me why there was a sales spike in July. Okay, maybe not a bike in July, but a spike in July. On the stage here, it's not working so well from a voice recognition, but that's all right. We'll just tweak that with our keyboard and ask the question. Would have been faster just to type it out, I guess. Sorry. We'll fire that away. So now what's going to happen is the AI is going to take my question. It understands the context. It saw the graph that we had there before. It knows that there was a graph that showed a spike. So it's assuming that the spike I'm talking to is because of the fitness wear category that spiked up. And it's going to go in and have a look at what data sets it has that it can interrogate to see if it can find a reason for the why behind this spike. So at the moment, it was saying it was planning the steps. It said it was going to look through customer support transcripts to see, well, I don't think a customer support thing is going to show an increase in sales, maybe a decrease in sales. So it's gone past that, and now it started looking at some marketing data. It knows that a marketing campaign could be related to a boost in sales. But there's other things it could do as well. I mean, it's coming into summer, it's hot, maybe people want to go out and exercise more and they want to buy some more fitness wear. So there could be just a natural uptick in sales as well. But what you see here is it ran through some thinking. We can actually go in and show all the steps that it ran, any queries that it ran behind the scenes if we want to, or we can just jump straight to the insights that it's provided. So some of the things it said there is that it believes that the July sales spike was driven by a targeted campaign that ran in the first week of July. So it ran in the first week of July. It had a whole lot of impressions, a whole lot of clicks and click-throughs. So we're getting a good throughput on our marketing campaign here. And it also says, that there was a boost from social media. So there was an influencer who retweeted or re-TikToked or whatever you call it, this campaign over their social media. I think this was on Instagram. And then that resulted in more people clicking it and hopefully more sales as well. As you say, it's giving some analysis. It says that we saw that increase from 2.2 to 6.8 million. It was probably because of that concentrated campaign, combined with the social media activity that also went into creating these numbers. It's also giving us some info around why it was targeting the fitness wear specifically, and that was because the campaign did just target fitness wear. So it might have helped boost some of our other categories, but it was primarily aimed at the fitness wear. So you can see there, some of the capabilities that AI can do. So we can give it data sets like our sales data, our marketing data, social media campaign data, ask the AI to go and interrogate those data sets and find the relationships between them. We don't necessarily need our analysts to build these relationships first, although it does help. But it can look at those and it can join and correlate that data and come up with these sort of insights and go through that reasoning process a lot faster than you and I can probably do that. In this case here, it was all structured data, so sales data, marketing campaign data, clicks, social media reports as well. But what if we wanted to have a look and understand some insights from unstructured data? So in the system here, I actually have some unstructured data around product support issues. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask what products had the most issues in July. So that's all I'm going to ask. And it's going to go and take that question. It's going to understand the different data sets that it has access to. It's going to go and look at those data sets and try and find if it's got anything useful to interrogate. And then it's going to start crunching the numbers and figure out if there were data in the data sets that could help answer this question. So it's having a look. It says the sales and marketing data doesn't have anything that's going to help us here about product issues. But it did have some support case data that it looked at. And this support case data is actually just a whole lot of cool transcripts that are captured from our call center system. So they're not organized nicely in a table like a dashboard would require. It's just free-form text. But it was able to interrogate that, compile some statistics and give us some insights back. And as you can see, it says the Thermo Jacket Pro had the most issues. It says that there was a primary problem that it's seen across a lot of these incidents, which is a manufacturing defect that is causing some seam tears. It says multiple customers have done and reported this, and it says here all of these cases have required a full product replacement. So this is probably something you want to look into. Have a look at the manufacturing, have a look at the sourcing, perhaps do something to fix this product. Interesting here as well, you can see that it has also shown us where it's getting some of this information from. So you can see here some samples that it's used in the citations here to say, this is a chat transcript from the Thermo Jacket issue here. There's another one there from the Power Yoga mat. So you can see that it's backing up what it's finding with references as to the data that it's used. So this goes towards the user who's using this and understanding the trustworthiness of the insights that are coming back out. We can also go and attempt to join this unstructured data back to our structured data, our sales data, for example. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to ask, were the product issues for Thermo Jacket Pro related to any dip in sales in July? Cool, it's understood me that time. So now it's going to take the context again that it has. It's going to take my question. It's going to look at that support data and see if there is any corresponding drop-offs in sales for that product in July. So it's coming through, it's doing some analysis, it's looking through. Now it's found the July sales data there, so it's going to have a look and see if there is any decrease from that July to that August period. So it's actually able to do comparisons based on what you're asking it to do as well. You don't have to have them pre-built as metrics in your dashboards. It's going through, it's analysing it, and now it's come up and it's given us a emphatic no. The product issues were not related to a sales dip in July. In fact, the opposite occurred. The sales were still going up while these issues were coming in. It possibly was contributing to some sales dips later on in August. But yeah, we didn't ask that question just here, but it has offered some more analysis, which and says here, potential delayed impact in August. So it has sort of said, you didn't ask this, but here's some insight that I've also found that might explain what's going on in August as well. So this is what you can do when you take AI, you combine it with the data that you have. You combine it with your structured data and your semi-structured data and start to ask the why questions to go with the what. So we saw the sales, we saw the spike. Now we can ask the why and have AI start to answer these questions for us. Okay, let me jump back to my slides momentarily. Okay, cool. So once again, this is an end user product, so it's not just designed for your analysts, for your engineers to use. Your analysts and your engineers are going to build some of the things behind this, but then they're going to make this available to your end users after the appropriate UAT and testing and everything else, of course. But then you can put this power in the hands of your end users so they can get these insights faster. You saw how easy it was to use natural language to ask these questions, like literally with my voice. Maybe the second and the third time so easier than the first time. But it makes it really easy to use these tools to start to probe deeper using the AI to find these insights. So one of the advantages here is that it doesn't need to take as long to get to these answers as it might have been if you had an insights or an analyst team having to build and join all these data sources together and get them ready before you could start to ask these questions. And then the unstructured data that went into that as well, that typically it's very hard to start building those into a data model that you can directly relate to the other data. So with Snowflake, Snowflake Intelligence was the front end that our end users used. And it operated on the data, so the data layer at the bottom, which had that structured, that unstructured data. If we go back up to the top, so you ask your questions to Snowflake Intelligence, and then what it does is it passes it to an agentic AI orchestration layer, that second layer down, which from the questions and the context that it has, it figures out what the next thing it needs to do is. So if the next thing it needs to do is go and ask a structured data set around sales, then it will call a structured data agent inside of Snowflake. That's what we call our Cortex analyst. So that is a structured data agent that's built across a data set like sales or sales and marketing and so on. If that orchestration layer decided it needed to query unstructured data like those support tickets, in that case it would have called an unstructured data agent, which in Snowflake is our Cortex search service. Essentially you just feed it documents. Under the covers, it uses a combination of RAG and some search capabilities to make it easily consumable by the AI, but the orchestration layer will choose to go and use that when it's needed. You can also configure other tools into this as well. So one of the things I could have done at the end of that was I could have said, email me a summary of the findings around the product support issues. In that case, the agent layer would have gone and called the tool that says send email, and it would have created an email with all of the content of the prompts and the findings that we got back from the AI so that we could maybe forward it on to somebody else to follow up and chase up later. Now the agents talking to our data, talking to our unstructured data, one of the things that we do have in most of our organizations is we have security that goes on that data. We have privacy that may not mean that all of the data should be seen by everybody. So we do need to make sure that any governance that we need on that layer, on that data, is enforced. So we do also have a governance and an access control layer there, and all of the agents, they will query to that data through this layer. So, for example, if a salesperson is based in the Auckland territory and they're only allowed to see the sales data for Auckland, at that governance layer, it will filter the data that's coming back so that only the data for Auckland will come back to that person. So when these questions are being asked, the data security, the rows they're allowed to see, the columns they're not allowed to see, that's all being masked and filtered out as part of the process. So we don't have to worry about users getting access to data that they shouldn't have access to, which is a challenge with AI in a lot of places. So I've heard this many times, but there is no AI strategy without a data strategy. So you can't just throw all your data in a big bucket and just call it done and have it work. You do need to make sure that your data layer is built soundly, especially for that structured data. That is one of the most important pieces. Snowflake, we make it very easy to bring all the data from all different applications and all different domains, centralize it in one place, and then apply that governance and allow the AI to securely query that. Snowflake is an AI-ready data platform. You can bring all those sources through, you can land them, you can transform them, you can model them, and then you can make them available. Not just to the AI here, but you can also then make them available to your BI or for other applications to query that as well. For example, you might want to use another tool that's the front end for your AI. It can still call into Snowflake to ask these questions and get these answers back. You don't have to use the Snowflake Intelligence front end. So if your users live in a different application, you can actually still put this intelligence into their application where they're working. Snowflake is not just landing and transforming data and making it available. It is available on all the clouds, so Azure, AWS, GCP. It can handle that unstructured data, semi-structured data like JSON and XML, structured data as well. We do support open table formats like Iceberg, and we have multiple languages that you can use to query that data, whether it's SQL, Java, Python, what have you. Obviously not the end users, they sit in the natural language, but the developers can use all those languages as well. We do have a full suite of AI capabilities built into Snowflake as well. Snowflake Intelligence is just one of those aspects. You can also use the searches and the agents separately. And you can also, if you want to, just get direct access to LLMs inside of Snowflake. So you don't have to set up APIs or wire them up. You can just ask them questions and then pay for them on a consumption basis. So very easy to get going with that. As well as the AI, we also have a full suite of ML capabilities, all the way through from running notebooks inside of Snowflake through to running processes on GPUs, where you just pay for what you need to use on the GPUs. You don't have to own a GPU for 24/7 for a year. Snowflake as a platform it's easy, serverless, it's scalable, it self-tunes. You don't need a whole lot of people to run the platform. It's connected, you can connect it to your applications, you'll bring things in, you can connect it to applications for them to consume data. And it's also trusted. Things that you do inside of Snowflake have a very solid, robust security and governance layer, which allows you to implement that row-level security, data masking, and so on. It's very easy to get started. If you've got a team that wants to try this out, they can actually go in and search for the Snowflake Intelligence Getting Started, and they'll be taken to a guide where you can sign up for a trial. You can basically set up all the data sets that I just had there and start asking questions. We have many customers that are already using AI inside of Snowflake and using it for all sorts of different purposes. One of those is Spark. Spark has built an advanced decisioning engine inside of Snowflake using ML in the first cases, and that has helped them reduce their marketing spend and increase their marketing campaign effectiveness. We also have companies like Xero who are able to use it to essentially understand product usage between different products and understand the cross-sell opportunities that they have in there. And then companies like Sharesies who have rolled out tools like Snowflake Intelligence where they can essentially democratize the access to the insights to all of their users. Matt Bain, Chief Technology and AI Officer at Spark New Zealand, he's deeply across all of Spark's AI-related projects and the real-world value that they've delivered. So to hear Matt's thoughts on AI and how it can bring value to your business, let's welcome him to the stage. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Can I have my mic? Oh, yeah, mic's on. Perfect. Hi, everyone. Hey, so I think we were customer number one in this market, partnered with Snowflake back in 2019. And since then, we've migrated all our data analytics capability to the cloud. Now, the last point here is the key one. We actually started with ethical-based guidelines, realizing that we needed guardrails if we're going to use data at scale across the organization, and having a cloud like Snowflake, that was the purpose of that. And that meant not just having the guidelines, but also putting in place tooling to make sure that we had privacy in place. We could, as we built models, we could monitor what they were doing, have transparency, and also make sure that we didn't have bias built in. Now, back in the days, these were ML models, right? So we were training ML models to take workload out of the team and serve our customers better. Started with one, ended up with hundreds, and that ML orchestrator still works today. So if you get an email from Spark and you're a customer, that's probably sent by AI, not a human. Now, what we realized is that by being able to operate at that scale, we are unlocking tens of millions of dollars of potential margin from our customers. And also a side effect was our teams got more effective. So it dramatically changed the way our teams work, not in a way that we had planned, but it was kind of a second order effect, and we'll come on to why that's important. It allowed us to, having real-time data pipelines, data in the cloud, organized, cleaned, good quality, allowed us to really at pace scale use cases using AI without having to worry about going back and cleaning up the data as we went. And that set us up well for what we now know as an agentic world, right? So now we're using the same data and looking at how do we start to use agentic capabilities across the top. When we talk about agentic capabilities, we're not talking just about LLM models. So we're still using bots, old-fashioned bots, to do things in the background. So deterministic capability. We're using ML models. People are forgetting about the power of predictive analytics. LLMs don't do that. You still need to be able to use that data to predict what's best action for a customer or a person based on historical data. Thirdly, LLMs are useful, as you've just seen, for taking large volumes of data and synthesizing them into sensible, bite-sized chunks that you can understand. And then agents sitting across the top of that, either taking actions through a bot or an ML model to get the information, and then using reasoning that agents have to run through chain of thought to take actions. So that's where we are today. And there's three big so what's there. This is going to change the entire way our businesses operate. You know, at the moment we're organized in departments. People like me feel really important because we stand on top of a big department and we look down at our department and say that's where the value is created. It's actually created in all the processes that run from your customer to the back end of your business. And so we're seeing a shift towards a focus on processes as sources of value versus traditional departments. And that will, over time, we think, change the way that organizations are shaped and very much change the shape of work in an organization. So three big things required for that. You need a view of where your technology stack is going in the next 3 to 5 years. So what's your technology and AI strategy? Second piece you need is what's the data strategy? What's the data requirements for our business in the next 3 to 5 years? Because that's the fuel this runs on. And the third thing is, what's the organizational change that needs to take place? And our experience is starting to become that that's the biggest bit. You know, so getting people to lean into this and realize that the older ways of working don't necessarily apply in the next few years is really important. So when we think about weaponizing data, we hear a lot about data these days. I actually was with the team this morning looking at the value chain of getting an AI product to market. About 60% of that, because we get questions, oh, you've got all these AI teams, what are they doing? Most of our AI teams are not AI people, they are data people, right? So 60% of the value chain at least is getting the data ready, making sure that the data engineers have got it coming from the right places, they're pulling together in the right structures, and that it's clean and of high quality. The next 15% is the actual stuff everyone's talking about, building a model, training a model, making sure the results are accurate. And then at least 20% is adoption. So when you're thinking about this kind of capability, it's really tempting to go, let's look at agents, let's look at all this. Actually, it's the underlying stuff. Below the waterline is 80% at least of the work to be done, and the agents are getting easier to spin up. So the speed at which you can deploy agentic case capabilities, process re-engineering across the business is highly dependent on the data you've got and the access to it, and the ability to, at pace, get it ready. Adoption is an interesting concept. There's two schools of thought. One is that you measure adoption, and that's a good metric for how well your business is doing. We haven't seen that. What we've seen is that in some areas, like call centers, adoption is something that you have less people, right? So actually just measuring the number of people that are using it is a really bad metric. Focusing on the outcome. Adoption will be an input to the outcome, but really focusing on the outcome is the right thing to look at. So are we just repurposing an existing process? Are we thinking, how do we reimagine this process if it was a combination of agents doing work, humans doing work together? Often just automating an existing process is not the right way to think about it. And then there's also a lot of conversation about business value. So if you just provide Copilot to all of your people, you're unlikely on paper to be able to say, hey, we saw a business benefit. Where we've seen success is upfront. We've defined what the benefit will be, what the benefit must be to greenlight a project. Then we've sized the effort to do it, looked at what data needs cleaning, what's the technical infrastructure that needs to be in place. Is it bots, is it ML, is it LLMs? And then the teams have driven hard towards the commercial benefit. And the target for us has been 100% return on capital in the year. And that just sounds unreasonable, but it's not if you're getting started, because you've got some really high-value use cases you can get to quite quickly. And once you get some runs on the board, you can start to accelerate. That will get you to a point where you have a number of point solutions around your business that have demonstrated good returns based on improved customer experience, improved sales, or cost out in some form. And eventually you'll get to the point where you stop seeing value from that, because that's kind of a bottom-up approach. To actually get to the next stage, you then need to go, we're going top-down. We have a 3-year ambition around the value that this will bring to our business. And we're going to identify several big processes across the business. And we're going to work as a whole business to really nail those. And that's what we're starting to see at Spark is, yeah, we've done some great work and we've delivered a lot of point solutions that's delivered value. But to get to the next level, we have to take a whole of business approach. And it has to be top down, because you've got to line up technology stack, business owners, your AI and data teams, and your HR teams to help with the business change. You're going to have to reskill people. You know, the jobs that exist today won't exist in the same way in 3 years. Jobs will exist, but they'll be very different. So I think that the important thing about business value and people not seeing it is I think people are just enabling people with the technology without a really clear definition of what the outcome needs to be. And then they're not, as they see wins, lifting and going, this now needs to become top-down, enterprise-wide, because you can't do organisational change in pockets. So we've been on a bit of a journey on this. Alongside, we've had curious teams working with our customers on the same types of projects. And we realised that there was value in taking some of the experience we had. We've got some stuff right, we've got some stuff wrong, we've got a clear path forward now as an enterprise. But how do we take that to broaden New Zealand to make sure our customers get access to that? So Curious have put together a consulting package which takes a lot of their learnings, but also we've got permeability between my teams at Spark and the Curious team so that they can access the capabilities and the experience that we've had at Spark on this journey, and they can take that out to their customers. So I'd encourage you, if you're on this journey, some of the stuff seems relevant to you, then have a chat to Curious. They've got a booth out there, and they should be able to help point you in the right direction, or look at whether the components you've got right in your strategy are right. And that's my bit. So thanks for listening, team. See you at the Curious booth, or for a coffee a bit later on.